Yo, what's going on? What's going on? It is Devon Johnson and the Showtime Forum post-game show. Of course, I am joined by the great, the one and only, the prophet, Chaz Pearson. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know up front that we are on two opposite ends of the scale tonight. Chaz is not happy, so he's going to represent the unhappy people. Me, I'm more unbothered. I'm more unbothered. Maybe I should be more bothered, but we saw the Lakers go up by double digits tonight, had the largest lead of 19, and by the end of the game, they lose by 2, losing their fourth game at home, falling back to 500 with a 4-4 record. So talk to me, man. What should we take from today?
We let the Warriors go on a 14-5 run to close the game.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the defense wasn't there when we really needed it to. The decision-making wasn't there. Not sure why LeBron wanted to get rid of the ball and give it to Schroeder, who played hot potato with Caruso with a second left to go, and then Vogel obviously called the timeout and set up that last shot for Bron, which was way off. But we deserved to lose tonight. I had no idea how we were losing this game. No idea. And it was because it was every time that the Warriors were getting close, somebody made a big shot, whether it was Trez, whether it was Kuz, whether it was even Caruso. AD and LeBron didn't make any momentum-changing shots tonight, right? Like, all of their stats, all of their points, all of their buckets, all of their plays came within the flow of the game and didn't really impact the game in a major way. I would say all of the dirty work was done by committee. A lot of deflections by Kuz, a lot of good defense by Wesley Matthews tonight. Schroeder obviously making plays on the offensive end, and the defensive end as well. But just down the stretch, just didn't have the IQ and didn't make some of the best decisions, I thought. And that play where he just laid on the ground after flopping, that took me out, man. I'm a little old school. I'm 30 years old. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm a little bit in between the old school and the new school. But on most things, I'm always lean old school. Schroeder, get your ass up. You flopped in the first place, and then you lay there, right? Man. And that's when Vogel got the tee, and then the Lakers go on a 7-0 run, right after that as well. But
yeah,
ultimately, there was just some of the decisions that I just didn't like overall, and would have liked to see. This is the night where I would have liked to just see THT for a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly. We talked about it before the show, a little off air. I'm not sure why he's getting so many DNPs or not playing as much. Maybe something happened. Maybe they're saving him. Maybe they're going into playing certain lineups because now it's a more serious part of the season. Now that it's a month in, I don't know. Like, these are all ideas. Right now, I do not have my prophet hat on tonight. I cannot tell you why the Lakers lost this game. I mean, I guess I could tell you why, but the reason why the complacency was there was just off the charts. Like, Vogel just said it at the end of the third quarter. You knew that the Clippers just gave up a 20-point lead to them. Not in the first half, in the second half, into the third quarter, fourth quarter. You knew that they just came back against the Clippers. So it's not like you didn't know what they were capable of.
It's the truth.
So it's just the lack of just complacency, KCP not shooting the ball. You know what? When LeBron got mad at him for not shooting, I thought that was more so on Vogel than anything. Yes, KCP normally would have shot that, but KCP was sitting for a long time. Like, at least,
that's true.
Probably at least 20 real-time minutes. You
Yeah.
know, like, not just game minutes, but like when you're sitting for 20, 25 real minutes, like, it's expected. So,
yeah,
a lot of negative tonight, but luckily the Lakers is only their fourth loss, and a great stat that you pointed out. The Lakers are undefeated on the road, but all 4 of their losses have come at home in Staples
by single digits.
By single digits.
By single digits. So what we're talking about, really what we're talking about, is not an issue of talent. It's not an issue of matchups. It's an issue of trying. Literally, every game that we've lost, regardless of the team's talent. So this is not playing down to the Warriors' talent. I do believe the Warriors are going to always have momentum games like this. But there are several factors that factored into me. Number one, it was having a 2-day off, a whole weekend off. That made it a trap game to me. And then two, the bigger thing for me was anytime they go on win streaks, they typically end up dropping a game they shouldn't drop. That ends the streak, right? And so they did great on the road, came home 1-1, and then they were going for their 6th, and then they dropped it. And so for me, that's why I looked at it and said, at one of these points, in one of these games, they're going to drop it, and then the streak's going to start over again. And so this team is probably going to be a team that has wake-up calls throughout the season. And I heard somebody, or I read somebody say, why or how many wake-up calls do the Lakers need? It's not about how many they need. It's not like they're going to wake up and then just turn it on for the rest of the season. For these guys, it gets monotonous. You go every 48 hours, you're stepping out on somebody's court, and you know you're better than them. And especially on a game like tonight where Bron and AD, and this is probably where something we're going to look at later on, when Schroeder had it going, Bron and AD, you could visibly see them take their foot off the gas. You saw Anthony Davis with 6 assists in the first half. When have you ever seen Anthony Davis have that many assists? Because he was just passing and he was just distributing. And it was, we're going to take our time and take a night off. And when they needed to turn it back on again, the Warriors had already gained momentum. People like Draymond, who's an Energizer bunny and is a leader, is getting those guys hyped up. Oubre's talking mess. Now I guarantee you this:
flexing all game,
the whole game. And this is when I knew when the Lakers didn't care about all these little first down things he was doing. I said, "Oh yeah, then this game is a wrap." And the only reason I'm okay with it, is because it's this early in the season. Once again, they've only won 11 games. So for me, they're going to look back at this and go, okay, that was a defining moment. That was a moment we had to go, okay, we're not going to let that happen again. The Warriors are not better than the Lakers. We know that. But the Warriors played better than the Lakers tonight. And that's the honest to God truth. Outside of our contributors, we pretty much, we even the score. It's only Steph on the other side. We allowed the game to get even when AD and Bron decided that they weren't going to do what they normally do. And once again, this is not me talking crap about them. They're already, in my opinion, Hall of Famers. But the issue is that when you look at the things that they did tonight, it's very odd. For instance, Anthony Davis had 17 rebounds tonight, but only had 17 points. That means this man had 5 offensive rebounds, but only had 17 points. He only shot 7 free throws. So when have you ever known Anthony Davis to rebound that much and not get to the free throw line?
It never happens. Let me say this. I got to keep it a buck on here, as I always do. But
yes.
I'm going to keep it really a buck right now. I killed the Clippers last year for disrespecting the game. You don't disrespect the game by taking anybody lightly, by not trying as hard, by trying to coast, by trying to whatever you want to do in order to make it through the season.
Right.
Can't do that. That's not the game will not reward you. And too early and too often, I don't want to hear about this layoff anymore. The 71 days. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, you're past that.
We're a month in.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't want to hear anything about the layoff. I don't want to hear anything about longest season ever, the pandemic. Damn that. I don't want to hear anything about that anymore. Because at this point, you knew your competition. You know who you're playing. You know what you're up against. And to just be disinterested, to a lot of the wins that we've had this year came off of the back of Trez or Schroeder or Kuzma, not LeBron and AD. Like they've been okay, but
yeah,
as I've said earlier on these same exact post games, to see exactly what finals Bron is like, to get finals Bron and regular season Bron within the same 90-day period showed us exactly the different levels that he's on. And to see how to see how disinterested he was and AD was on the offensive end specifically tonight was disrespectful to the game, in my opinion, personally, because we know what they're capable of, and I know they were trying to ride the coattails and the wave of Schroeder having to go tonight, Kuz having 15 and 10, Trez not missing a shot until the last minute of the game, putting up 17 points, Caruso hitting threes. I get it, but you're the big dogs and you make almost $30 million, over $30 million a year for a reason. And you played almost 40 minutes tonight and you didn't get the win.
Yeah.
And you got another game coming against the Bucks in the next day or two. So those are the reasons why I'm not like we could lose. I'm okay with losing, right? Like you don't want to lose, but I'm okay with going down, falling on the sword, trying hard, diving for loose balls, missing shots. I get it, but being complacent and not trying your hardest and seemingly coast through and everybody being able to visibly see it because we saw what level you were on 90 days ago, nah.
Yeah. Well, and we've been trained for, I'm not going to say 20 years, but like 17 at least, of a Kobe Bryant who never took a game off, period. I mean, the record, we could have been 12 and 35, and he's going to go out there every single quarter. And so we've been trained, and we know what it looks like. Number one, to go back to back. We know what that looks like, right? And then we also know what it looks like to see Shaq and Kobe and things like that. So complacency has never really been a thing we've been accustomed to, but we have seen glimpses of it. And so I just want to bring it back. Part of the reason why the Lakers lost to the Mavericks is because we didn't take them seriously. That series where, the infamous Bynum snatching off his jersey after throwing JJ Barea half the court.
Look, real quick. I disagree with that real quick.
You disagree with what? With Bynum? With Bynum being complacent?
No, I don't think that we were complacent. I think Dirk Nowitzki just took us to the back of the shed.
Yeah, but
went to work.
Yeah, he went to work, but
he hit shots that entire postseason.
Yeah,
we've never seen before.
But Dirk Nowitzki did not beat us by himself, is what I'm saying. I'm saying other players got hot because we did not. There were certain players, not Kobe.
JJ Barea.
There's no reason why JJ Barea should even be a name.
Hey, it was dirty, but I loved it because I was so tired of seeing JJ
in the
Barea
moment
with them floaters. And we losing anyway. Andrew Bynum, take your jersey off.
I'm out.
Run our test. Man of world peace. Get him to the back. Yeah, I remember that, man.
See, and that's one of the things that I know that they're going to correct throughout this season. I think the issue and I'm with you, the issue that we're having is it's LeBron and AD, right? It's not a Bynum, it's not a Gasol, it's not a Lamar, it's not somebody random taking it off. It's pretty much the two biggest superstars, and so that's going to have to be corrected. What I do like, and what I've heard is that the accountability inside of that locker room has allowed players to be able to speak truth to AD and LeBron. Now, that was last year. I don't know how much that happens this year, given that you don't have a Rondo or Avery Bradley or Danny Green. I don't know who that person is who's going to be able to kind of do that, because for the most part, the people who are left from the old squad who have championship experience, for the most part, is really Bron at the top of that. So you don't have a Danny Green who's won rings with other teams, and you don't have a Rondo who's been a fierce competitor and is already, in my opinion, a Hall of Famer. So you don't have that in the locker room anymore. It's going to be interesting to see who holds those two accountable and says, get it together because you're still relevant. AD, I don't want to see another 17-point game come out of you in the month of January. For the rest of this month, I want you putting up 25 or above. I also think it might have been, I have to get to these comments because I'm losing them. I also think it might have been a conversation that happened before the game, because it felt very much like Schroeder had the green light from the beginning. And once he had that green light, it just felt like the guys were good with him kind of just taking over and doing his thing. And the minute that he wasn't doing that, it just felt like the offense wasn't clicking. How many times did we see tonight where it was an inbound pass and Kelly Oubre knocks it off of somebody and it ends up being the Warrior ball? We saw that at least 3 or 4 times. So it's just like silly things, travel calls, stuff like that.
Vogel in the last 15 minutes described the offense as hesitant and a little casual at certain parts in the game, and that you can't do that against a team like the Warriors. Like the Lakers looked like they were working on some stuff the last 2 days, and we're just trying to implement it. That's what it looked like to me. I don't want to say giving Schroeder the green light, but there was a little bit more freedom than maybe usual, and he looked comfortable, but
Yeah.
I don't like to. Look. I'm okay with Schroeder getting off and him doing his thing, but there's a fine line to walk between letting Schroeder do his thing and taking the ball out of LeBron's hands too much. The identity of this team and the way that this team won a championship and won 53, 4 games last season, regular season, was with LeBron James having the ball in his hand 80, 90% of the time. Now, I get he doesn't want to have it in his hand that much, given his age, given his usage rate, given his minutes, mileage. But in crucial moments and the most high leverage moments, in that last play when Caruso and Schroeder decide to play hot potato, that's LeBron's got to keep the ball in his hands, get a pick, either give the ball to AD or get a pick or close out or clear out and do his thing. Like you can't.
Yeah.
And you can't pass it to Schroeder with 4 seconds left and have him create his own shot for the win. Like that's not.
And you can't miss crucial free throws.
Oh.
At the end of games. So this is like to me, this is an opportunity for Schroeder to understand that you're not at OKC anymore. You're not at Atlanta anymore.
Yeah, he missed that first one.
Yeah, like we give players like LeBron a pass on that somewhat. Because he's been around the league so long that we're going, he's just a bad free throw shooter. That's just no way around it, right? But you have to be able to handle those pressure moments. If you say that you're tired of playing from the bench and you want to be if you want to be a starter, then this is the reason why you get held into those last minutes. I'm also very shocked by Anthony Davis's free throw shooting, which has been very subpar this season.
5 of 7 tonight. LeBron 5 of 8.
Yeah, but I mean he's missing at least 2 free throws almost every game.
Yeah.
That's not the 80 that we remember. Lakers Daily Dope on YouTube says LBJ got mad because they wasn't calling fouls. The Warriors played more aggressive and LBJ played lazy. You're not
gonna get the calls when you playing lazy.
You can't. Yeah, you got to respect the game, man.
You played like you didn't want to play today. Like you did not. You know, sometimes you go to work and you work like you just don't want to work today. Like a lot of people that had to go to work, a lot of black people that had to go to work on MLK Day that felt like they wanted to have the day off today probably didn't do full amount of work today. There's some people out there. That's how LeBron played tonight.
Yeah, he played like he still had another day off. Terrible fourth quarter and awful last 5 minutes. Got to stop looking for those threes down the stretch. Use the size. Leonard Buchanan on Periscope. Let me just address that real quick because the Lakers, for the most part, the last 5 years have been the bottom half of the league in three-point shooting. This is the first year that we're in the top 10. Really, I mean, that we can remember in the top 10. So this is going to be a different balance this team is going to have to find. When you have an Anthony Davis and you have, like, Marc Gasol hit a 3 again tonight. I don't want to get into that, but like, once again.
Good corner 3.
Yeah, a good corner 3. So the Lakers are shooting the 3. In fact, this last little interview they did, or the practice report, the question was, who's the greatest shooter and the best shooter? And our guy, Harrison with Silver Screen, help me. Who's Harrison with? Fagan.
SB Nation.
SB Nation. When he said that this is the first time that somebody has asked that question and it wasn't a joke. That's how great the Lakers have been shooting, right? The issue with that, and nobody knows this greater than the Warriors and the Rockets, if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. So this is one of those moments that they're going to have to learn how to make adjustments that when you get into crunch time and the 3 is not falling, several people, KCP missed the 3, Kuz missed the 3, and it's okay because they've been making 3s. So this is not like about them being bad shooters. But
KCP
when it's not,
turned down a 3.
He turned down a 3, which is what got Bron mad. So when those things happen, they have to know you have the greatest big man in the NBA. Let him go to work. But it's hard to say that when the big man seems disinterested in playing. They agree with you that KCP was sitting a long time. All black everything. Bron wanted the day off. He was a -9 tonight in the plus-minus category. You play lazy, you deserve the L. But I'm with you, D. I'm unbothered. I'm with you too, sir. Good to see you on here. Freddie Martinez is saying they look tired in option right now, bro. That's how I feel. Freddie, thank you for that comment, man. I don't know if tired's the word I would use, Chaz, and I'm trying to think of a word that's different than the word we keep saying, uninterested, disinterested. It's not tired. It's not fatigue. It's not. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a preservation, complacency. I guess that's the best word.
It's literally it's just going through the motions.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing what you can to get by. The Lakers are not excelling right now. Even like they played great defense and they had that stretch of games. But let's just be honest, Houston is a battered team and was just being ran down by James Harden. So, I mean, you better have blown that team out back to back.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
Yeah.
OKC traded is in a full rebuild, not like a half rebuild, like full rebuild. You better have won that game. The Chicago Bulls, great squad. Been playing good. No AD that night. That's a solid win. But just overall, you're kind of sleepwalking through, and like we see AD sleepwalking through halves and stuff like that in some of those games. Defensively tonight, the effort was there in the first quarter, and after the first quarter, it was like, oh, okay, well, we could just turn it on whenever we're up 20. We could do it. It is what it is, but couldn't do that. Couldn't do that towards the end of the game, and then they kept it close enough for Steph to make his threes. And you know what really killed us? Letting Wiggins get off for 3 threes in a row.
Yeah, but that was probably the stretch where you saw the complacency at its peak. It's just they weren't fighting through screens. They would see him open once, didn't move. Second time, didn't move. By the third time, you were like, oh yeah, they don't care.
You don't care, dog. So we deserve to lose. Hit me with all the comments. I'll give you all my insight that I can, but I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But I just can't. What I can't do is kill the Clippers for sleepwalking through like they did last year, and not acknowledge what the Lakers have done through 15 games. So far at 11-4.
And I want to just keep reiterating, this is happening at home, right? And I'm saying when we're on the road, we're winning by double digits. When we're at home, we're losing by singles. So there has to be something mentally that is allowing them to feel so relaxed. Then this is what was different than the bubble. Home games and away games didn't matter in the bubble. So when you're in the bubble, you're away from home. Every game is an away game for the most part. They played in the bubble far different than what they're playing right now, and they're gonna have to figure out how to switch that back on. Chris Camello, our own Chris. KCP and LeBron had their worst games of the season. Played like junk, not engaged much at all. Thank you for that comment, Chris. BDA Pink on YouTube. Lakers are a contender, but it's time fans realize they're not unbeatable. Clippers are a real threat in the West. Fans got arrogant, but those same fans get mad at Laker players for being arrogant. BDA Pink. Yeah, see this. I'm going to reverse that a little bit. I do agree with you. This has never been an idea of the Lakers being a beatable team. In fact, most people believe they won't be the number 1 seed because they're not really looking at this season as something that they're going to throw their whole selves into. Danny Green said it on his podcast. He's like, man, I don't expect Bron to play for the first month of the season if they start in December. So there's been a lot of conversation around what the Lakers were going to look like in the beginning of the season. And what we are seeing tonight, what we saw tonight, is exactly what everybody anticipated. They were going to have games off. The only difference is that Bron and AD didn't sit. They didn't sit on the bench, right? For the most part, they just basically were bench players on the floor tonight. So it's not a matter of not thinking that teams are real threats and none of that stuff. I think for the most part, the Lakers just know that as of right now, they are the best team. And it's not arrogance, it's just a lack of interest. The arrogance part, if I'm just going to throw this out here, Jazz, and you disagree with me and let me know, the arrogance part that we saw from the Clippers was they were proclaiming a championship. They were talking about ticket prices being raised. They were talking about a whole lot of stuff. Patrick Beverley was saying stuff like, move out the way, Steph. I got next. That's the kind of arrogance. Lakers aren't saying any of that kind of stuff. That will never come out of that locker room.
Yeah, because they have 2 of the top 5 best players in the league. Like Kawhi right now, Kawhi's great, but I don't know if he's even top. To me, he's top 5, but it's not a consensus, right? You're not going to get everybody to say that.
Yeah.
PG, definitely not there. So
playing out of his mind, though.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But in high leverage moments, that's when if I see it then I won't say what I just said. But I don't give a damn about PG in 15 games into a season. So, but at the same time, I just love the fact that our bench guys are playing such huge roles.
Talk
I
about
love
it.
that. I love that Kuzma is moving off the ball,
Yep.
staying active.
Yep.
I trying to block shots, at least putting his body there, getting fouls.
Yeah.
Trez, Trez doing a great job. Caruso playing better. I mean, this loss isn't on the bench. This loss is
Which
on
is crazy.
LeBron and AD. Like the bench played. I mean, the worst bench player that we have is Markieff Morris this season, by
Which is
far.
nuts, bro.
Which is nuts. Like Markieff Morris literally didn't do anything tonight. He scored 1 point and didn't have anything else. 1 point off of a free throw, played 6 minutes. Vogel obviously saw that tonight this wasn't his night. He only went to 4 guys off the bench outside of Keith, and that's probably why LeBron and AD played almost 40 minutes tonight apiece. But for them to play that much and to not get the win,
silly.
Tells me more about LeBron and AD than the rest of the team, because I felt like they played well. Wesley Matthews was a -6. Kuzma was a -13, but he had 15 and 10. And, Schroeder and Caldwell Pope. Caldwell Pope only had 4 points tonight as well. So we could have played better in many different ways, but I was most proud of Kuzma and Montrez more than anything. And also Caruso. So those are bright spots to look forward to. I'd like to, if somebody like Harrison or anybody else can ask why THT is getting 0 minutes now, then maybe we can find out a little bit more as to why the rotation is what it is. But I'm just curious as to why Taylor Horton Tucker,
to be
isn't
honest,
playing as much anymore.
To be honest, I do believe I probably would have had THT in and taken some of like Wesley Matthews' minutes, probably even Keith's minutes, even though I know we needed a big. But I don't. Even if they would have won with THT scoring 12 points, I still would have considered it a loss. And this is the reason why I said this before the game, during the first quarter. I said the only acceptable win is if Bron and AD are sitting in the fourth. That's the only acceptable win. If they're playing well into the fourth, I don't care if we win, to be honest with you. That means that we did something wrong, right? With a 10-man rotation, and you were coming out of the first with a huge lead, if something ends up being the case where they have to continue to play, then we did something wrong. And that happened tonight. And it showed. So I did want to highlight Kuz because this is the second game, and I'm getting ready to go through. We have so many comments. Kuz did exactly what I think the Lakers are expecting of him. Rebound as much as possible. The man is active on the glass. Even if he doesn't get it, his body is in there. Okay? And then hit the threes when you can. When you're open, shoot it. Don't even second guess it. And then when the defense allows that middle to be open, cut to the middle, man. Cut to the middle and get in.
And he's been doing that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to tell people, because there was the huge trade Kuz thing going, and he'll be gone before the end of the season. No, this is the role you need him in. Ironically, this is so crazy. Ironically, the reason why we lost tonight wasn't because Kuzma did anything wrong. It was because LeBron and AD. So I just want to make sure that if we're gonna like throw the fire on Kuz when he gives you 8 points and 3 rebounds, then let's also make sure that we celebrate the fact the man gave you a double-double for a second game in a row. Now, and if he continues to do this, now you have found a solid bench player alongside with Montrez who stretches the floor and allows the Lakers to have that much more depth. I would love to see Caruso, THT, Trez, Kuz, and I don't know who I put in that fifth spot right now because Keith ain't really doing it. But if we could have that, man, that's a solid secondary rotation.
Real quick, before you get to one of those comments, I just want to say I like the fact that Vogel finally went to Kuzma, AD, and LeBron as the finishing front court lineup as well.
Yeah. We've been waiting on that because that's
to go with Caruso and Schroeder.
Yeah, and see that's where I would have changed it. Caruso I would have kept, but by the time we got to those closing minutes, I was so
Schroeder out for KCP.
I think I might have only be, and it's hard because KCP sat so long, but Schroeder has a tendency of making decisions that are not good in crunch moments. KCP kind of knows his role. Let LeBron have the ball, get in the corner, and then you play great defense. But I don't know. I mean, maybe tonight was one of those nights he wanted to experiment and find out. Yeah. Marquis Smith says Trez is that dude who's going to speak up in the locker room. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Sports players, in my opinion. I missed your comment. Lakers ain't going to the finals, in my opinion. I'm not trying to bring any hate. Sports players, listen, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate the transparency on that. We disagree here. But once again, this is a long season, and if I'm just throwing this out here, we don't even know what the season's going to look like in the second half. We have no idea what the schedule's going to look like, where we're playing, and the way these players are fighting against these COVID rules. I have no idea how this is going to work. 80 and Braun getting outscored by Pascal.
Man, yeah. that took me out, man. That took me out.
That was Jason Jeter.
Really quick on the last comment. Who's going to beat the Lakers 4 times when you see the Lakers play defense like they did in the first quarter against the Warriors? But when the Lakers really turn it on and play defense, they're unbeatable.
Yeah, I mean,
when they get complacent and they want to sleepwalk through the game and act like they got it made in the shade, then that's when you get other teams feeling a little confident, especially when they hit that Staples Center floor. They know what's up when they get up under those lights.
Yeah, and you have Steph Curry on the other side and Draymond Green. These are guys who know Bron. So this is not some up and coming Memphis Grizzlies team led by John Morant. It's like these are guys who know Bron, and they know they can look at him and tell when he's not in it, and they go for blood. And they did that tonight. They can tell when AD's not in it. They went for blood tonight. So it's going to be up to Bron and AD to really sit down and look at each other and go, okay, are we who we say we are? Or are we going to just pretend to be that for the rest of the season and hopefully it turns on later on? We can't do that this season. Schroeder should have never gotten the green light. No way. Winston Mobile app. So let's talk about this real quick. And you guys can throw this in the chat. Who do you want to take the last shot on a night like tonight where your highest score is Schroeder and LeBron and AD seem disinterested? Who do you want taking the shot?
I would have loved to have seen the play that Vogel ran for Kuz in the bubble against Denver in that last bubble game. I would have loved to. I tweeted out, Kuz, please save us, because I thought that they would run the play for Kuz. You know, Kuz is really good at those last second shots, and he has a really quick release. So I thought that the play would be for him. I don't know if I want Bron. I mean, I guess, LeBron by default, or AD coming off some kind of a pin down or some kind of a curl screen like we saw against Denver as well in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. So LeBron, AD, or Kuz. LeBron, in that order. LeBron, AD, then Kuz. But the fact that LeBron gave up that ball to Schroeder with 4 seconds left, I was losing my mind. Like,
listen, the pundits are going to eat that alive tomorrow on Sports Talk.
I'm not even watching Undisputed tomorrow. I'm not even turning.
I love watching it, man. I love watching
tomorrow. I'm not turning it on.
You're gonna make you mad. Marquis Smith said Lakers are playing like the chip is on lock and needed that punch in the mouth.
We don't lose 2 in a row, so we better not lose against Milwaukee. And Milwaukee is coming off of a tough loss tonight against Brooklyn. So
yeah, man. And they ready. They ready for it. Irvin Tyler on YouTube says that was embarrassing. The defense was pathetic. Staying up late in Europe to watch, that is tough. You gotta fight. Man, first of all, Irvin, thank you for staying. I thought I was suffering being up in Houston 2 hours. You in Europe. I don't even know what time it is. But yeah, that is it's a tough loss. It's one of the reasons why we love Kobe so much, because he took the game serious. And this is not, I keep throwing the comparison up, but I want to just keep throwing that out there, that we've been kind of trained for that, because it was about the fans and it's about making sure that I never let effort be the reason why we lose. And so tonight was that night, and you're right, they got to fight. Kelly Oubre talked smack to the Lakers and got away with it. Got to get a killer instinct. Pablo Ornelas on Periscope. Yeah, Kelly Oubre is.
I would have liked to see somebody get in his face a little bit. Somebody
Yeah,
like
that
Trez, somebody
or
like Wes
Keith.
Matthews, somebody like Keith. Yeah, no, specifically Keith. I
Keith.
would have liked to see Keith. I would have liked to see, but I mean, he did lose 35 grand last week, so he, you know,
Yeah.
he might be,
Yeah, he might be
chilling
like,
a little
let
bit
me
more.
chill real quick. And seeing Vogel get a technical tonight, the referee part, I don't want to put this on the refs and foul calls and missing travel calls and stuff like that. I mean, all those things matter, but it wasn't the deciding factor of this game for the most part. I mean, technically, had they would have called travel on Draymond, then they wouldn't have had that 2-point lead. But
It was a big momentum swing, though.
it was. But
His technical was a big momentum swing in the game at that point.
it was. But at that point, the issue is we let it get to that point.
Right.
So the Lakers should feel responsible because you can't come out and destroy them in the first half the way you did and then allow them to come back in the second half and erase that deficit, come back and win by 2. So once you get to the place where Draymond Green is the deciding factor in the game, you've already lost. Even if we would have won that game, you've lost. Okay. When AD does not play well, the Lakers are beatable. Now, I'll disagree with that because we had beat the Bulls by 2 with AD on the bench. So I think this team is deep enough to be able to do it, but they have to care and bring energy and momentum every night.
Right. Exactly. They have to be able to play consistently with the same type of fervor against everybody and not, get up for certain games and can't be looking past teams. It's a long season. I get it. But you have to be able to hone in and lock in. And they will. I have all the confidence in the world that they will. I'm not worried in the least bit. I don't like to lose that way. Like when when it's within your grasp and you just let it happen and it's like here's the win. Like we have it. We don't really want it as much. If you want it here, take it. We're looking past to Thursday anyway. I don't like that type of mindset. And that's really the why the loss tonight bothers me so bad. Not from a schematic standpoint, not from a scheme standpoint or how the guys played or effort. I think effort is there. It's just effort there from everybody else. Tonight, LeBron and the aggressiveness on the offensive end just wasn't there. And watch, we might get 50, 60, maybe even 70 combined points from LeBron and AD when they head up to Milwaukee. So we'll see.
Somebody said Gasol is in such horrible basketball shape. We needed Howard. To resign. Here's the issue: Howard's not going to hit a corner 3, as Gasol has done in 3 straight games. So,
or give you 5 assists.
That's just not going to happen. And so the offense is not set for what we had last year. And it's not about basketball shape. This was not about being outran. That was not the game tonight. The game was not decided because we got outran. It was because we did not care, and that showed. That showed all the way through. I think it's hard to watch Gasol because we just had a whole season of JaVale and Dwight, and we thought we were going to have Boogie. So now when we look at him, we're like, we're going to have Boogie.
And lobs and blocks. And
screaming and going at Jokic and things like that. That's just not the team anymore. It's just not. You have to give up one or the other. To be honest with you, I don't know if you bypass Gasol and then you sign Howard. I don't know if Howard fits in this offense better than Gasol would. So we'll see.
Hey, Lakers were this close to having both of them if Dwight could have just held off for 45 more minutes.
But we could have JaVale back. Woo.
If he gets bought out, we'll see.
Well, they're going to trade him. They made that announcement. They're looking to trade him. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Did y'all watch the fourth quarter? Kuzma's 5 wide open shots. Listen, when you're playing with Bron, you got to hit them wide open shots. Kuz missed those shots. We can't depend on Bron scoring 30-plus points. He's 36. That's why we got to get those offensive players. Listen, I don't need him to score 36. But
I need him to score more than 19.
And I need him to
6 or 16 from the field. And 2 for 7 from the 3-point line.
And 5 of 8 from the free throw line. And here's the biggest thing for me. He only had 5 assists. Now, for
5
me,
rebounds too.
And 5, I'm used to LeBron, to be honest with you. The low scoring part, I actually prefer this early in the season. But for him to have 5 assists was a problem for me.
Here's the thing. LeBron is such a, basketball is a rhythm game, right?
Yeah,
Because Schroeder had to go on, LeBron never really established a rhythm at any point in the game.
none,
So,
none,
you
none.
know,
And you could tell that the lack of foul calls was getting to him, and it did look a little weird, even though
getting hit in the face multiple times.
yeah,
It's just,
I think the refs were having a hard time because going into the second half, the Lakers had double the amount of free throws that the Warriors had, even though it didn't feel like that. And so it almost felt like the refs were trying to not call as many calls to try to even out that at the end for whatever reason. But the bottom line is when Bron and AD were inside, there was nobody on the Warriors that could stop them. And the only way you can stop them from scoring was by fouling them. And it felt like there was a kind of a turnoff for Bron once he realized he was like, I'm not going to get any calls tonight.
yeah,
And he kind of just walked away from that.
got less aggressive.
They need a big like Howard bad. They beat us with layups. Yeah, that wouldn't have mattered so much because Howard got scored on a lot. We forget that, even though we had a high block.
And he fouled a lot.
We fouled a ton. And all the Warriors were doing, they were getting to the paint, and then they would wait for someone to go up to try to block like a Trez or even a Kuz, and then they would just pass it to the open man, the trailer on the backside or whatever. So a lot of their layups and their hits and stuff, it's just the way it is, right? It wasn't like we were losing battles on the inside and we were getting dunked on and laid up on. That wasn't the case. They were just getting to the cup because for the most part, the Lakers just did not care. Wiggins hitting those 3 threes lets you know what the Lakers cared about tonight, and defense was not it.
Well, they were blitzing. They were blitzing Steph Curry off the screen, and then then they had Draymond on the back end setting a back pick for whoever Steph to pass it to in the corner, whether it be Oubre,
Wiggins
or Bazemore or Wiggins, or even Pascal. So
yeah.
They had a good scheme, and the Lakers just didn't make the necessary adjustment to be able to stop them or play aggressively enough on the offensive end down the stretch in the fourth quarter.
And I want to just keep reminding people, you walked into tonight the number 1 defensive rated team in the league. Even though you were playing scrubs for the most part coming up into this, you still played defense. So it wasn't like that's and I think you pointed that's the issue. When you see them play great defense, and then you see a night like tonight where they just decide not to play great defense, that's a problem. It would have been different if Wiggins would have hit 3 contested threes. He hit 3 wide open. Nobody even in the vicinity of him. So I can't wait till Laker Film Room starts tweeting out video because he's going to point out everything that we missed in slow motion. And I'm sure you're going to see just points where you're like, you're just not going to run out. You're not even going to contest that.
Right.
Okay, got it. Good. I don't understand why we can't win at home. That's Marquitos on Periscope. That's a great question. Thoughts?
Energy. I would just say energy, lack of energy. And, we have the best fans in the world, and not having them there, and these guys having to muster up their own energy, from each other when you're already coasting in the first place, doesn't make it that much easier. But they still have the best record in the league. So, we have to temper our expectations and our feelings because ultimately the Lakers still have the best record in the league and, play one of the top teams in a couple days and have every right to believe that they'll take care of business and do what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
To make sure that we feel the way that we should.
Now talk to me about that game because when I watched the Bucks game tonight, I saw a Bucks team that did look different. Holiday does change that offense a little bit. Giannis, I feel like is still trying to make sure that his game is established. He shot some threes tonight. He was driving to the hole, and obviously the advantage the Bucks had over the Nets tonight is the Nets only have one big man, and that's DeAndre Jordan. But that really doesn't match up against a Giannis who can do so much damage in the paint. So for us, who are kind of in the same situation, we have a Marc Gasol and we have Anthony Davis, but is that going to be enough to be able to kind of hold the Bucks at bay?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because they don't play that much defense as well. They have a lot of guards, and so do we.
True.
They have a lot of perimeter players. They're pretty deep, but we're even deeper. So by a couple guys.
Yeah.
So it really just comes down to what type of defense the Lakers want to play. If they want to stonewall Giannis, force Giannis into those mid-range jumpers to threes, and make sure that you put the clamps on Chris Middleton, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, you can't be complacent offensively. LeBron and AD have to combine for 56. I mean, at least probably 60 points combined in order to win this game.
And to be honest, I wouldn't be mad at that. I would like to see an AD around 25. I would like to see Bron around 25, 27. What I really want to see is I want to see Kuzma continue to put up double figures. I want to see Wesley Matthews return back to his 3-point shooting form prior to his injury. And I want to see Caruso continue to do what he's doing. Let me tell you what I saw tonight, because he hit a 3, but there were 2 plays after that where it was a drive. Where I don't remember, one was by Schroeder, and he passed it out to Caruso. The refs blew the whistle right as Caruso was shooting and called the play dead, and Caruso hit the shots. So there were he made them. And I'm like, okay, so I'm seeing him shooting it in a rhythm from different parts of the court, and he's making them. If I can get Caruso to give us 2 threes, Kuzma giving us a double-double, Trez doing what he normally does, and AD and Bron giving us 25 to 27 with some assists and rebounds, I think it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
That's exactly right.
Now, Ariel Marcelli, and I'll probably kind of close down with this one. Ariel Marcelli says Schroeder has to come off the bench. Him dominating the ball is messing up Bron's rhythm.
I won't say this. He's playing so good to where he doesn't have to come off the bench, but he's definitely not in my closing lineup anymore. Not tonight.
So in that stead, you would put a KCP, or depending on who's shooting that night.
I'm putting the ball in LeBron's hands, and then I'm going with 2 defensive guards that can either shoot or pass. Which
could be Caruso and really KCP, right?
I'm going Bron, Caruso, KCP, Kuzma, and AD. That's my closing lineup.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad at that. So, and that's another thing, guys, for us to think about. Sometimes we think about starting units as the most important, and for the Lakers, that is not the most important. The most important lineup is the finish. Who finishes the game? And we've seen that rotation kind of get mixed up a lot. That's why Vogel had no problem starting Caruso in the finals, because it really wasn't about Caruso starting. It was really going to be who was going to finish. Now, we blew him out so bad. Yeah, matchups. It didn't really matter. But for this next game, I'm interested to see how he changes. The starting lineup is not going to change. He has been consistent the last, 10 games.
It's working. Starting lineup is working. It's just you got to tinker with that finishing one based on matchups and based on consistency.
There it is. Yeah, Bucks defense, real Brandon H, is horrible. So is the Nets. Yeah, I saw that back and forth tonight. And there's a lot of commentary about what the Nets are going to look like against the Lakers. We don't know what the rest of the season is going to look like, so I'm not even going to anticipate putting any stock on that. But this has been the game. The 21st is the game that Chaz has talked about, that we've all been looking at, as this is a good heat check. This is where, okay, if we're doing well, how well are we really doing? And we're going up against the Bucks. The Bucks obviously have not won anything significant, but they have the most threat to do it because they have a 2-time MVP. They have a Defensive Player of the Year. They have Giannis, right? And I want to see. We didn't get a chance to see him in the bubble, and of course in the finals, as everybody was anticipating. But we're gonna get an opportunity to see him on the 21st. And at this point, you've kind of worked yourself into a rhythm. You know what your schedule is. You've gotten your practices in. You've made some adjustments from the coaching staff. So there really is no excuse per se. It's not for all the marbles, but it's a good heat check. You'll be able to find and identify what changes you need to make. So you may hear talk about adding a big man more prominent after this Bucks game, win or lose, depending on how these rosters shape up going against the Giannis. This is going to help the Lakers understand what do we need to make sure we're prepared in case we get to the finals. So we'll see. Y'all still don't like Kuzma. This is crazy. Who are the Lakers trading? Herb White. Lakers probably ain't trading nobody. It's probably going to be a cut and release and signing somebody who got released. So we'll see. Looks like I lost my boy. In any case, guys, so we don't have too much coming up. Too much to worry about outside of the 21st. After the 21st, Obviously, the stuff we're going to be looking at in regards to the schedule. But what we're looking for the Lakers to do is just play their game. If they play their game, we're good. If they don't play their game, we're going to have nights like this. And let me tell you, anybody who has issues with what happened tonight, you are validated in your worry. You are validated in your anxiety. But let me just calm you tonight. Let me end tonight by giving you what I consider the state of peace address. Okay? The Lakers are doing exactly what we need them to do. They're figuring it out. Now, there's going to be some frustrating moments in the middle of figuring that out. Here's my analogy for you as we get ready to get off of here. All of us on this line remember our teenage years. And if you had parents in the home who, were probably a little bit more strict than most, then you know that there were moments that you were expected to do certain things and you just didn't do it. Your mom would say, hey, man, take the meat out of the refrigerator, out the freezer, so when I get home, it'll be ready. Make sure you come home directly after school. Turn in your homework. Clean up your room. Make up your bed. Stuff that you know you can do, you just didn't feel like doing it. That little space in there where you're trying to mature is generally where is kind of where the Lakers are at right now. They're in that space where they know they're great. They know they can do it, but they're in that I don't feel like it stage. And so what we need the Lakers to do is mature and mature quickly as a team and as a unit so they can take things seriously all the way through. We don't know what this season is going to look like, but we do know what the potential of the Lakers is. The same team that we saw blowing out teams by double digit, they can do that even against the good teams if they care enough. So what we're looking for is the Lakers to care enough. And when they do, it's going to be a wrap. So sleep tight tonight. And like some of you guys, you may not be able to get on and watch Undisputed or Sports Talk tomorrow because this is going to be conversation. But don't worry. It don't matter. It's all just conversation. What you saw with your eyes is what you know to be the truth. They're 11-4, best record in the league. They're undefeated on the road, and they're 500 at home. We need to make some adjustments to the complacency when we're not on the road. That's the bottom line. I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. I will see you guys on the 21st on the next one. I don't know where Chaz went, but I'm going to go ahead and just say good night for y'all. Make sure you tune into the podcast. Chris Camello, of course, and Chaz are still doing the podcast. And if you haven't followed us on any other platforms, please do it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. And we will keep you guys up. You guys have some really funny comments. We'll keep you guys up to date with all things Lakers.